So this morning, I would love to welcome Richard Brown from Step Psychology as part of this Business Spotlight interview series. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks for having me.
So, Richard, if you could maybe just start out and tell us a little bit about Step Psychology, what it is you do and whereabouts you're located.
Yep. So I started Step Psychology in 2009 and initially I was just on my own as a single psychologist, but I wanted to build a bit of a group practice. So over the years, that's what I sort of developed. So probably for the last 6 or 7 years or so, we've had somewhere between 10 and 13 psychologists at any one time in the practice.
Oh, wow. Okay. And whereabouts are you located?
We're located in David Street, just off the corner of Dean Street. So,
and that's in Albury?
Yeah, Albury.
Okay, yep. All right. So in terms what was the driver that actually inspired you to start the business back in 2009?
I guess I wanted a couple of things. One was to have a small team of people together rather than just being on my own.
Yes.
And I wanted that for kind of support, but also practical things like having admin support and that sort of thing.
Yep.
But I also had an interest in developing the business ultimately as a provider to businesses for employee assistance and other services like that.
Right, yep.
So over time, that's what we've developed as well.
Excellent. And in terms then of who would be the ideal customer or client for your business?
Yep. So on the employee assistance side, we currently have around about 28 businesses we provide to.
Okay.
They actually range from businesses with, 4 or 5 employees, right through to, there's one organisation we provide for who has over 3,000 employees. That's a little bit of an oddity for us. Most of our customers, usually go up to probably about 500 employees.
Right, okay. Yep. And so is it only just businesses that you provide for, or do you provide for individuals and other entities?
Yeah, so the EAP side, or the employer assistance, is to businesses. That's one segment of our work, and that's probably about 60%, 65% of our work. We also provide to individuals on a Medicare referral.
Okay.
Then another part of our work is work cover, so Victorian or New South Wales work cover clients. Then we also do assessments for young people and adults, various types of assessments.
Yep.
And probably the other area, which is sort of the smallest, but a bit of a favourite of mine, providing clinical supervision, which, if you like, it's a little bit like coaching, but it's kind of clinical practice.
Right. Okay.
That sort of thing.
Fantastic. And Richard, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in business right now?
Probably it's slowly getting better, but still just the amount of changes to schedules that happen. So through the COVID pandemic, there were, a range of very big challenges on us, but one of them has simply been, people calling up and saying, "Oh, I think I might have COVID, I can't come in today." So there's just been, daily changes, and that's either because individual clients can't come in, or of course our practitioners have also had times where they've actually either got COVID or they've had to isolate, that sort of thing. So
Right. Yes.
constant change.
Yeah. So the pandemic had a big impact on most businesses. What's one or two actions that you've taken because of the pandemic, and how are they actually working for you?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing initially, when the pandemic first kind of hit us, I thought that one thing we needed to do was go from doing all face-to-face work to having a good, manageable way to provide services over the internet.
Yes.
And so we had to change quite a lot of things actually to accommodate that well.
Yep.
We had a practice management system that we'd used for years. We ended up deciding that we had to change that completely to a newer generation of system. We also had to go digital for all of our records, whereas we'd previously had a good part of our records were still on paper.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, it's actually kind of forced us to kind of upgrade and update a lot of our systems like that, which has ultimately been a good thing, really.
Yeah. And what's been the key benefits that you've noticed out of updating and upgrading those systems?
Firstly, during the pandemic, it enabled us to keep going because we had lots of times where we had to provide counselling over the internet. During the lockdowns, it was entirely over the internet.
Yes.
But now it provides us with a lot more options and flexibility. So I've got some clients that used to live in Albury that have moved interstate, and they've actually chosen to stay with me.
Oh, wow.
That sort of thing, yeah. But also, if we have, like if I felt at some stage, I just suspect I might be getting sick or something, I've been able to change, all of the appointments to telehealth over the internet. So still keep seeing all my clients, that sort of thing. So a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. In terms then of what's some of the greatest learnings that you've actually had being in business?
Being in business, ooh, there's so many things I've learned. Probably one has been the true importance of having a plan.
Yes.
Probably another category of learning, I suppose, is understanding who our customer is, in the sense of who we want them to be.
Right.
In order to direct what we do and what we plan for. So
yeah,
probably some of the biggest things, which I really didn't understand the importance of until I'd actually gone through all of this.
Right. And so what were some of the outcomes that came out of the planning and understanding that type of customer?
Well, actually, through COVID, we had to make a big adjustment in this. And that's a good example in that prior to COVID, about 68% of our clients were via Medicare.
Right.
And for a couple of different reasons, that caused us enormous grief. And we've actually changed quite deliberately so that our Medicare clients now are actually less than 30% of our total workload.
Okay. Yep.
So, we had to, through the early stages of COVID, sort of go, okay, well, this is not going to work. So what do our customers need to look like? You know, who are we actually going to target now? Um, so that's been a sort of an example of that.
Fantastic. All right. So I guess, looking at, the period that you've been in business for, which is coming up to 14 years,
Yeah, going on
is,
for that.
is what would you say to anybody that was thinking of going into business today?
Oh, I'd say really do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, talk to people who have done it and try and get the most realistic kind of guidance and really listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because looking back, I know that, there were people that I spoke to that simply went, yeah, go for it. It's easy, go for it. And I think that I look back now and I think they might have been the people that were in business so long that they didn't realize or they forgot how hard it was.
Yes.
But also some of those people were talking about starting a much smaller business than what I was aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it probably was a very different thing
Yes.
to
Yeah.
create.
So looking back then on that, particularly those earlier days, Richard, what were some of the mistakes that you made, and what advice would you be giving that would help people avoid some of those mistakes?
I think some of the marketing, particularly that I chose, was just the wrong marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think looking back at it, I didn't know enough to figure out what I should be doing.
Right. Yep.
I didn't either speak to the right people, or maybe I didn't listen hard enough, or but I learnt the hard way, what I should and shouldn't be doing in that sort of respect, And there's lots of there's lots of companies out there that are trying to sell you marketing, and they'll give you all sorts of great stats. But I think the key difference is that marketing my business as opposed to the business next door can be totally different.
Absolutely.
That's what I think people, unless they've been there and done that, don't necessarily understand that,
Yes. Look, at marketing with any business is always going to be a challenge, and one of the things that we recommend is that you have a 10 by 10 approach. So it'll be 10 different marketing methods, but within each of those 10 have 10 different marketing, ways of marketing within that one time frame, because it's a pretty well known fact that most marketing doesn't really work. You've just got to keep trying different things till you find the one that does work. And one of the adages that I have is, if your marketing's working, do more of it. If it's not working, stop it, go to the next one.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think there's always going to be a bit of trial and error, and new things come up too. There's marketing avenues available now that weren't available when I started.
Yes.
So it's worth trying things a bit, but
yeah. Look, marketing is one of those important aspects about business, but it can also be one of the most frustrating because you've got to keep changing things all the time. Richard, in terms of how do you keep yourself inspired and motivated every day?
Well, I think that a lot of it comes down to sort of intrinsic motivation, in that firstly, apart from running a business, I'm seeing clients myself every day.
Yes.
And I'm still enormously interested in that, and I really like, striving to help people in my work. So that really sort of keeps me going. On the business side of things, there are certain aspects of the business that really interest me and motivate me, and probably in my case, I'm most motivated in innovation, business development, as well as mentoring people that are in the business. We have some, younger sort of early career psychologists here.
Okay. Yep.
So I guess in some ways sort of playing to my strengths and kind of primary interests. So those are the main things that sort of motivate me, I suppose. And I've tried to, the things that I'm really, really not interested in, I've tried to get other people in place to do those sorts of jobs, because
yes. Delegation is alive and well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One final question then, Richard, is what does the future look like, and what do you see as being the main challenges moving forward? First of all, for your industry, secondly for yourself, and then thirdly for the business.
The industry is an interesting one because historically, psychologists have, it's been, I don't know whether it's the right term, but a little bit of a cottage industry in a sense, in that people have just got themselves an office, thrown a sign out, got some clients, and then, clients come in, they pay for their sessions with cash and they write a little docket, and, so it's very kind of small scale, old fashioned. Sooner or later in this industry, there will be imposed upon all of us a requirement to get practices compliant with certain requirements.
Yes. Yep.
So in our case, we have for a long time now actually had formal systems and processes and workflows and all that sort of stuff. So that when that comes into the industry, we'll be able to, get accreditation pretty easily.
Right. Yeah.
But that'll be one of the things that will be a big change for our industry. For myself personally, I am sort of looking at, okay, well, how am I going to be able to contribute the best I can to the business, and also pursue the things that I'm most interested in into the future? So I'm looking at, okay, will I adjust and evolve in some certain ways and sort of thing. I'm also looking down the barrel at, I intend to keep working into my probably early 70s. So
yes.
Just how I'll do that.
Yep.
The third part, in terms of the business and how we'll evolve, what we're looking at doing is positioning ourselves to do more work for businesses and organisations. We need to keep focused on where our strengths are, and our strengths relate to being local knowledge, to some degree. And another part of our strength is that we're a business that has, a bunch of psychologists who have done a hell of a lot of training and development. So we've got high expertise in the business for those services as well. So yeah, just positioning ourselves in terms of that. And we don't necessarily plan to get to be enormous, but we plan to get more and more easily sustainable, more slick in the way we operate and run.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Richard. And for anybody that may be viewing this video, please reach out to Richard in Albury.